Hey Judah, it's me, Da'dra. I've missed seeing you all and hugging you in person, but I've been keeping up with you, of course. And I just want you to know that I love you. Thank you for having me as a part of your service. And I always like to say that distance is no deterrent for a move of God, and it's no deterrent for the manifestation of the presence of God. So even though I'm here in Texas and you're in Detroit, Michigan, we know that we can still join together with the 24 elders and declare that our God, He's holy.
And we lift you up and magnify your name. I look around and see all the works your hands have made, the awesomeness of you, and how your love will never fade. No words can express how I feel inside, and I can't describe your glory divine. But as a token of my love, this is what I'll do. I'll lift my hands and cry, Lord, you're holy, Lord. Ooh, and we lift you up and magnify your name, Lord. Ooh, you're holy, Lord. Ooh, and we lift you up and magnify your name. Now I don't know why you would love me, and why you would show me so much mercy, why you would suffer and die for me way back on Calvary. Oh Lord, I thank you. Oh, 'cause you are worthy of all the praise. You are wonderful, glorious, holy and righteous, victorious, conqueror, triumphant, almighty, healer, deliverer. Oh yes, you are strong tower and my best friend, omnipotent, omnipresent, soon coming King, Alpha, Omega, Lord of everything. Holy, holy is your name. You are God, you are. Oh, you are healer. Oh, yes, you are, Lord. A strong tower and my best friend, omnipotent, omnipresent, soon coming King, Alpha, Omega. Oh, holy, holy is your name. Ooh, you're so holy, Lord. We sing holy, holy is your name. All the angels cry, holy, to the one and only. Holy is your name. Your name.
Thank you so much for that, Da'dra. We love you here at the Detroit House of Judah. Thank you for being a great sister to us. We can't wait to see you again. Quickly, also, I want to give a shout out to my brothers in Los Angeles, California, the Outsiders, Ernesto, and all of the guys that work alongside of him. It's a great organization that services the homeless community there, and I met those brothers a couple of years ago. Thank you for sending me the hoodie. I really appreciate it. I'll send a donation to you real soon. Quickly, today I want to open up with a story dating back to 1988. I was working as a contractor for Detroit Edison at the time. I was a very young husband and I had a child on the way. And right around that time, I can remember as a contractor always being in a place where in my mind I knew that there could possibly be a layoff coming soon, but I didn't know if it would hit that year. If you were ever a contractor, you know that when times are good, they're good. When times are lean, you might have to stay home a few weeks and be furloughed. So I didn't know if I would be furloughed this year or not. So I was hopeful, but then bam, 5 months into my new marriage, I got laid off from work. And so, of course, being laid off the first week and into the second week, my spirits began to go lower and lower and lower, as you can imagine. And I can remember just being in the dumps, but needing to get some milk. So I went to the local gas station by my house, and I went inside of it, and I went to the freezer to get the milk out. And when I reached in to get the milk, I looked to the right of me, right into a corner, and I don't even know why I looked in that corner, and I saw a wad of money there. And so I can remember closing the freezer and going over to the money, and I picked it up and I just shoved it in my pocket and went around the aisle and got in line to pay for the gas and for my milk. So curiosity was getting the better of me, and because no one was behind me in the line, I pulled my money out and I began to count it out. Well, I found out I had $350. If I can remember right, I think I had about $30 in my pocket when I walked into the gas station. So now I found $350, and so now my spirits begin to lift. I begin to feel the joy of the Lord come on me. I remember thanking God for this money, saying, Lord, thank you. I bless you today. You know, I came in here with $30, and you blessed me to find $350. You are a good God. And I just began to, under my breath, begin to just say, thank you, man, thank you. And so I can remember paying for my milk and gas and going out to my car, and I put my milk inside the car, closed the door, started pumping my gas. And I remember leaning on the car, and I began to think about all the ways I was going to spend my $350. And I can remember just sitting there chopping it up in my head. I put a little bit of money on this bill, put a little bit of money on that bill. You know, I could keep a little bit, take my girl to the movies, maybe go to a rib shack, get some ribs later that day. I just had a bunch of different things I wanted to do in my head with my newfound money. It was a blessing from God, I thought, right? So while I'm leaning on the car pumping the gas, a lady comes up the driveway very fast in her car, and she slams on the brakes and she throws the car in park and she goes into the gas station. And so we all looked at her because she came in so wild into the gas station parking. So while we were all pumping our gas, we all were kind of looking at this lady too. And so the lady comes barreling out of the door, and she goes over to the first level of pumps, and she begins to talk to each person pumping the gas. So I'm over at the other pumps on the other side of the station, and I'm pumping my gas, and I know she's getting ready to come over to me, but out of the corner of my eye, I see her, and I hear her as she gets to the person on the end, and she asked the person that was pumping closest to me, did you find some money when you were in the gas station? Right away when I heard her say that, my heart dropped, because in the moment I was like, I have this lady's money in my pocket, right? So as the lady started coming toward me, I said to myself, if my pump clicks before she gets over here, I'm taking off with her money. Forget that. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. I'm going to keep this money, and I'm going home with it to bless my family with it. If she don't make it over here, I'm gone. Well, as she began to come across the pumps and began to ask everybody did they see her money or find her money, my pump clicked, and I took the pump out quickly. I hung it up, and I went around to my door, and I got ready to reach for the handle, and my heart wouldn't let me do it. And so immediately I turned around, and I just waited against the car until the lady came over to me. And eventually she asked me the question, did you see any money in the gas station? I said, yes, ma'am, I did find some money in the gas station. She said to me, was it $350? To the exact penny, she knew the number, so I knew it was her money. And so I said, yes, ma'am, it's $350. Now, I'll never forget it. The lady reached out and she grabbed me and she says, God bless you. Oh, thank you. This is my bill money. I dropped it. I thought it was gone. I was in line to pay the bill. Found out I left my money in the gas station. I just knew it was gone, but God has blessed me. Thank you so much. And she takes the money and she walks to her car and she drives off very calmly now that she has her money. But now my heart is back in the dumps again. You know, I feel worse now than I did when I walked in the gas station. My heart was so heavy, I almost wanted to cry in a moment. I felt as if like somebody tied a piece of chicken to a string and threw it at me. And then when I was starving in the moment and I wanted to reach for it and then it snatched it away from me, I felt like God was toying with me. I felt like, it was a bad choice of timing, God, to test me in this moment. I'm already in the dumps, and it seems like God, you kicking me in the stomach now. And so I can remember getting in the car, and I'm exaggerating this moment because I was broke and I was young, so I wasn't able in the moment to think about what was really going on. But what God was doing was just simply testing me. So I can remember eventually, after a little while, starting the car up, and I drove around the corner to my house, pulled into the driveway. I sat in the car a little longer. Just I couldn't believe that God would let that happen. I remember thinking, she could have went in there and found her own money. I didn't have to find it, God. Why did you let me find it to only have to give it back to her? So I was still soaking in the fact that I was back home with the same, little bit of money that I had, minus the gas and the milk now. So I went in the house, put the milk in the refrigerator, and I sat down at the table, and I'll never forget it. As I sat at the table, I heard Matthew 5:8 in my spirit that simply says this, and we all know it: blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And I can remember it didn't make me feel good right away, but over a little time as I sat there, I meditated on that verse. Blessed are the pure in heart. What God was saying to me is that, Tyran, you feel bad when you actually should feel good, because, think about it. If you would have drove off with that lady's money, you would have become a thief. And then in that moment, the Bible says that what we do will come back to us by way of karma, right? So if I would have left with that lady's money and I would have went and spent it knowing that it was hers, I would have been a thief. And so in that moment, I didn't ever think about that when I was at the gas station, that the fact that I knew whose money it was and I didn't give it back would have made me a thief before God. It settled in on me that I did do the right thing. It's easy to do the right thing when things are good, but it's not so easy to do the right thing when things are bad. And so sometimes God will put us in positions where we can see ourselves. We can see our own purity levels. And God already knows our heart, but you don't always know your heart. So he puts us in moments where we can see who we really are, and we can see whether we are pure or not. The title of my message, if you haven't figured it out by now, is Purity Itself. And it made me think about in 1 Samuel, David had a moment very similar to my moment. In 1 Samuel 24, the Bible opens up and says David and his men were in a cave, right? They were hiding from Saul. And the Bible says while they were hiding in the cave, some of Saul's men waited outside while Saul went inside to relieve himself. Well, the Bible says when the men who were with David saw Saul and they're relieving themselves, they thought to themselves, just like I felt when I saw the money, God has blessed us today. He's brought Saul directly into the cave that we're in so that we can kill him and get back to our lives, right? But in the moment, David pulled his knife out, walked over to Saul, and instead of slitting his throat, he just cut off a piece of his robe. The Bible says when he went back to his men, I'm sure his men were looking at him like, what are you doing? This is the time to kill him, David, so we can be blessed, so we can stop hiding in caves. But in the moment, David went back to his men and he said these words: God put Saul in place. He's God's anointed, he's God's chosen man, and it is not in my power to do this against God. Now you got to know his men felt heavy in the moment, but I'm sure over time they felt like I did at the kitchen table. Like, yeah, we did the right thing at the end of the day. It's truly not our place. If God put him in place, God would take him down. It's not our place to kill him. David felt like, yeah, I've killed a lot of people in my life, but this is not a time to be a murderer before God. And this is God's chosen, and I can't take the kingdom. God has to give me the kingdom when it's my time. And sometimes we got to realize as believers, it's not always your time. The Bible says it this way: there's a way that seems right to man, but the end result could be death. And so sometimes you will be in moments where you're thinking that this is for you when it's not for you, or you'll be thinking this is the moment when it's not your moment. In Genesis chapter 39, there's a great story there about Joseph. Joseph worked for a man named Potiphar. And the Bible says that Potiphar was away this particular day and Joseph was in his home working. The Bible says that Potiphar's wife saw Joseph and found him to be very attractive. So she went over and she advanced on him and she said, sleep with me. And Joseph said to her, I could not do such a thing to my boss. He's a good man. He put me in a powerful position and all this prestige, and I'm over everything he has. He put me in a place of supervisor, and I wouldn't do anything like that to my supervisor. But then he said this at the end. He said, and plus, I would not do such a great sin before God. When you're standing in your moment, I hope that you too have enough purity in your heart to do the right thing. One of the things that I know, because I just know the nature of people, is that many of us are quarantined in the house. Some people are quarantining well, but then there are some people who are not quarantining so well. Think about this, and let's just be real for a moment. I know that there are probably some men, maybe some women too, who have struggled with pornography in the past, but now you have all this time on your hands, so you're struggling day to day to not cut on that computer and look at pornography right now. Some of us used to be gossips, but now because we have so much time on our hands, we start gossiping again. We're on the phone telling other people about other people's business, and purity is not a thing you've even thought about during this time of quarantine. We've been thinking about eating and cleaning the house and exercise and every other thing, but have you thought about the fact that God sees everything, and that even in the house, even in the time of a pandemic, he's looking at us and he's looking for purity from us? It's something that we should all think about. I wrote this and I put this in my note, and I'm going to end with this today. Where there's purity, there's freedom. Where there's freedom, there's blessings. One of the things that I found in studying the word blessed, inside of that word blessed is the word happy. So the scriptures are saying that the man who is pure, he's also happy. We're happy because we're free. Don't let anything corrupt your purity, because it takes away our freedom, which ultimately takes away our happiness. My name is Pastor Tyran Meredith. I'm the senior pastor of the Detroit House of Judah in the city of Detroit. God bless you.